Hey everybody, I'm going to be hanging out with Chuck today. We had a whole bunch of other people, but I guess the holidays got him busy, which is okay because realistically this started out as me and Chuck wanting to talk about Star Wars.
Huh.
For a rare time, me and Chuck seem to be on opposite sides of the coin. Of course, I am, and because neither one of us want to be on camera today, I'm the Indie Devil Mania advocate, and Chuck is this debonair man. Just
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
about Star Wars. That's the picture where the pirate thinks about Star Wars. And because he's a pirate, this movie really matters to him. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Chuck. Tell them where they can follow you.
What's up, everybody? I'm Chuck Pino. I'm a writer and editor for Bonfire Press, and for anybody out there who needs a good editor or writer, heck. You can find me on Chuck's Raw Reviews on YouTube, and you can obviously find me on Facebook at Bonfire Press or at Chuck Pino, Pineau, and you can find me at Twitter at Chucky Pin.
All right, so let's get into it. Star Wars. It came out. This is going to be spoilers, so I'm sorry it's a video. So either you fast forward it and you get spoilers, or you listen to it and you've heard it, and if you get spoils now, it's on you, not on me. So this is spoiler zone. So here we go. Let's dive right into it. I'll start off. I loved it. I thought it was a throwback to good storytelling. I've said it online. I'll say it here. This is like when Coca-Cola released New Coke. That was The Last Jedi. And then they realized New Coke sucked. So they went back to Coca-Cola Classic. And that's what we got. The Rise of Skywalker. I think I've been writing the title wrong for some reason. Rise of Skywalker. I didn't realize they did "the" in it. But either way, we're talking about the Rise of Skywalker today. I loved it. We're going to get into the intricacies of it, but I just wanted a quick flash statement, and then I'm going to give it to Chuck. Chuck, what'd you think of it?
So obviously, if we're on different sides of this one, I didn't, but I need to make sure that everyone's aware ahead of time. I wanted to like this movie. In fact, I enjoyed the last two. I am not someone who is against these last three movies, but for me, it gave the answers that we wanted, but it was so sloppy in the way that it did it. And so I can't love the movie as much as I really wanted to.
Okay, so let's start off. Are you a fan of the 4, 5, and 6, the original?
Yeah.
Are you a fan of the prequels?
Honestly, I'm a fan of all of it. This has honestly been the first movie where I was like, no. I've enjoyed all of them. Now, not 100%. Obviously, some are better than others, but yeah.
All right, so let's dive into that then. Let's talk about it. Why don't you like it? Because I guess I'm going to try to change your mind a little bit.
That's fine, and if you can, that would be interesting. You know what? So many people are saying fan service, and they're correct. But I hate the term. It's not that we shouldn't necessarily be trying to give fans what they want, but it's that the movie gave them exactly what they wanted without really. It was a movie without a vision. This is the third movie, and it should feel like everything's been building to this, and it's not. It doesn't even feel like Force Awakens built to this. It feels like it's its own separate movie that just suddenly says, oh crap, we really have to fucking make everyone happy. Okay, cool. Palpatine's a daughter, and the Emperor was there all along, but don't even ask a lot of questions because it doesn't matter. And it just throws all this shit in there, and it really feels shoehorned so badly.
All right, so let me address something right off the bat. This is something I don't think people understand. Do you remember what the very first three, not 4, 5, and 6, but 1, 2, and 3, do you remember the theme of that movie? That trilogy itself?
I mean, not off the top of my head, but go ahead.
The Phantom Menace. The fact that there was someone in the background the entire time actually manipulating things to create Darth Vader. Do you remember who wound up being the Phantom Menace?
Yeah, it was Palpatine.
So here's a dude whose whole job, he's like the original spy. Because this happened a long time ago. So he's OG spy. That's exactly who he is. He's the OG spy guy. So he's just able to hide in the shadows because that's what homie does. So it's kind of brilliant that he was actually able to hide in the shadows the entire time, wouldn't you think? Considering that's his bread and butter, hiding in the shadows. Like, just let that blow your mind. Homeboy's been hiding, planning, and Snoke was his puppet. So now when The Last Jedi threw away this character that they'd made such a big deal of from The Force Awakens, it kind of makes sense because what did he really matter? He was just a puppet of the real guy. And everyone's been a puppet. Everyone's being played by him the whole time. For 2 movies, nothing really mattered because he was just playing a game and they were just chess pieces. And this was the first time that the game was really going to be played because all the characters were interacting with each other directly. You know what I'm saying?
I get it, and I understand, but the problem is that does not feel like. And look, I am like one of the biggest Palpatine fans. He to me is the ultimate manipulator. I love him, and that's part of why I didn't like this movie, was because none of that felt like we weren't feeling any of those effects in the last 2 movies. I get it that I feel like The Last Jedi tried to create a vision, and everyone was like, "Oh, we don't like it," so they changed the vision.
Oh, well,
but there was no vision in The Force Awakens. It was just kind of a story, just kind of a, hey, so this is where everything is at now. And I feel like if there was some kind of link, something that we could look at that happened in that first movie and go, oh, that was Palpatine doing that shit? Like, that would have been cool. But this all, like I said, feels really shoehorned in and kind of like, yeah, this is the enemy you really wanted, so that's what we're going to do.
Well, okay, to go back to that first movie, I can make the argument that he's actually driving things the way he is, the way that things are happening. He drove everything to happen that way. For all we know, he's the one who made Finn realize the Force. He could have manipulated that specific moment to make the pegs go in order.
Yeah, but we shouldn't have to say he could have.
No, you're right.
And tell us that. You know what I mean? Like, well, and that's my issue. It's the same as with, okay, so Palpatine is the single greatest manipulator of all time. I think we can all admit that. He's amazing. He beats out probably anyone else because he overtook galaxies. Like, he's brilliant. But he couldn't control his own fucking kids, who then ran up. I still don't know which one of her parents were actually Palpatine's kids. I don't think they said that. No. Whether it was the father or the mother, it was just like, yeah, one of them. Maybe both. I don't know. And so it just like, it's like, so he can manipulate galaxies. He can deal with all this stuff, but he can't deal with a fucking kid? Really?
Yeah, but that's the problem with the Force and even the dark side. It's choice. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole point. Ultimately, it comes down to choice. Everyone gets to choose. It's the one thing he can't control, and that's why he has to try to manipulate things to make people make a different choice. Now, to go back what you're saying, let's break out of the movie for a minute. Let's just be honest. Force Awakens comes out. It sets up a new trilogy. JJ leaves because he doesn't like the oversight he's getting from Disney, is the rumor. He didn't like the fact that he had been forced to do certain things, and that's not how JJ rolls. And remember, JJ just had a horrible experience with Star Trek and hated the overbearingness that made them lose the Enterprise in the last movie, which he was against, and he walked away from that actual movie, remember. JJ didn't do the third Star Wars because he didn't like the direction. So you're dealing with a director who's just there, but not big enough to put his manhood on the table and say, this is my way or I'm out. He hadn't reached that moment. You know what I'm saying? So The Force Awakens, it becomes what he thinks the fans want. It's not storytelling like you're saying. So then you get this, what's his name? The guy who did Lester. Is that it? Yeah. He comes in and he just decides, I'm going to take everything from the first movie, throw it away, and start something so I can start a new trilogy in a different area and forget about everything and throw everything away. He broke it. He broke the whole thing. You get away, what is it, Phantasm? Just thrown away. Snoke, just thrown away. Her parents, which was a big deal in the first movie, just thrown away. So by the time you get to as a writer, think about picking up right after The Last Jedi. He has broken everything to a point where there's a continuum issue. So here's my question to you as a fan and as a writer. If you remove The Last Jedi and only do The Force Awakens and then go into this movie, do you still have problems?
Well, I do because where the fuck is Snoke?
But besides that, besides a couple small little things that could have been told in like quick prequel, like trailer things, just story wise, did these two feel like they could mash up to
So
you?
here's the thing. Yes, they do, but that's the problem with it. There is another movie, and the thing is I've had writers tell me before when we're editing books for them, we're working on the next one. They're like, "Oh man, I can't write that. I don't know how to do that." And I'm like, "Well, I can. Like, it can be written. You're just not trying." And so I feel like there was an answer, and they just didn't look for it. They took an easy way out because there was a way to mesh those to make them still work and not have to just say, "Oh, don't worry, the last movie just didn't happen."
Well, I don't think he did that. Like he does nod to the fact that the second movie happened and ties things off neatly. I think one of the things I know that a lot of people were pissed off was Rose, but people hated Rose. I mean, she had a Jar Jar Binks level of hatred to the point when I saw that she was in therapy because of all the hate. I said her and Jar Jar should go to therapy together, and everyone thought I was trying to be like a nasty person to Rose. But I was really making a comment at how nasty the Star Wars fans really are. Because
Yeah.
ultimately, for those who don't know, the actor who played Jar Jar was suicidal because
Mhm.
of how much anger and like absolute like just crapping on him that had happened. So when I said that, I had meant it like, wow, these fans are really some toxic people. I thought Rose was pushed, and we got to go into it. The Last Jedi. How could you like The Last Jedi? There were, as a writer and as an editor, you had to have seen all the flaws in it.
But he was actually going for a vision. Like I think the issue is I saw his vision. I saw where he was going. Yes, there were issues with it. There was issues with all of them from the beginning. And actually, I think I just came up with something in my head. But but he had a vision. He was going for something different. He wanted to kind of mold and change things, create sort of a new Star Wars, so to speak. Because the thing is that what people are forgetting, people have like this pregnancy brain. You know, when a woman she has a baby and she goes through all this pain and stuff, and then she has the kid and she's so happy, and then a year down the line she's like, I want another one of those. And I'm like, do you not remember what you went through? Do you have no idea? I think we have pregnancy brain. I think most of us forget that after The Force Awakens came out, everyone was complaining, oh, it's exactly like A New Hope. It's a complete stamped movie. And so he went, okay, cool. You didn't like that. You didn't want a movie that felt exactly like one of the other ones. No problem. I'm gonna go way out there. I'm gonna really give it its own thing. And he did that. And now it's like, no, we don't want that. We want something in the middle. Like, and this is the problem that we get when we listen to fans. And that's why it bothers me so much. It's the same as like, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Woodstock. Woodstock came out in the end of the 60s. Shouldn't we be having a Woodstock 50th anniversary? We should have been, but we didn't. Why? Because Woodstock, the 30th anniversary, completely destroyed it. Because it's a different generation, and that different generation didn't understand what Woodstock was really about. And so the problem is that we as adults don't understand anymore what Star Wars is really about. And so all we did was sat and bitched rather than just let them do their own thing. And if we had just shut the fuck up and enjoyed the movies and let them make something, then we wouldn't have had a Rian Johnson thing. We wouldn't have had all these answers forced in this last movie. It just would have happened and it would have been more cohesive. I honestly blame these movies on the toxic fans.
See, okay, I understand everything you said, but I remember when The Force Awakens, I don't remember anyone being that upset. Sure, some people said it was stamped, but I don't remember anyone asking for anything dramatically changed. Here's my problem, and I have this problem with everything when they do it. And sometimes people agree with me, and sometimes people think I'm absolutely insane and wrong for it. So take this with a grain of salt. This is just my opinion. You don't take something that's established like Coca Cola, change the flavor, and then give it back to people and then wonder why they don't like it. This movie felt like a Star Wars movie. The Last Jedi did not. It felt like Ocean's 12 with a bad ripoff of Star Wars. That's what it really felt like. Like, it almost felt like that he was doing fan service and that he was trying to do something new. And I think he went into it to recreate something. It's like when someone takes Batman and decides to make a Commissioner Gordon and give him a bat suit because they want something new and contemporary, missing the fact that they didn't want a new Batman, they wanted new stories for Batman. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
Okay, and I think we got that with The Rise of Skywalker because I think JJ also left a lot of doors open. I think JJ went back and actually connected to... Okay, so here's a spoiler for those who haven't watched it. Remember the I don't remember her name, but it's the person that Finn hooked up with, and she wound up hanging around with Finn the rest of the time? They rode those like horse-like things. You've seen Solo, right?
Yeah.
Isn't there a connection there? Aren't they like the same people?
They might be. I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like instantly, my mind went, "Wait a minute," and Lando would have known that girl. Is there a connection there? And does Lando know about it? There's a big door that was open.
Somebody had said that originally that woman was supposed to be Lando's daughter.
Still can be.
Well, yes, but that would reveal to me part of the weak writing is like at the very end, Lando sits down with a woman he does not know at all and then goes, well, let's find out about your past. And it was, again, very shoehorned in. Why is he talking to this woman? How does he know her? He doesn't. He just decided, oh, I'm going to stop everything I'm doing and I'm going to help you because, I'm Lando. I help people. Yeah, all right.
No, what I think that was actually was Lando might know more than he's letting on. Remember, Lando had been searching for something for a long time, and we never got told what he's been looking for. I think what it is that they're technically his daughter, but not the way we think. I think they're clones. I think that she's a clone of Lando and the other woman's actual daughter. I think their daughter is still out in the winds, and these are all clones of his daughter. And Finn is a clone, too. Like, wouldn't that blow your mind?
Oh, it would remind me of a bad Spider-Man story.
Oh, yes, the Clone Wars. I hated the Clone Wars. Yes, but sometimes the clone stuff is actually... Whoa, Jax is all excited. Sometimes the clone stuff is interesting. And remember, this does have the Clone Wars in it. So, and last time the clones were a different color, and now we're getting a different color clone. So, because a lot of people mentioned that.
No, those aren't clones. Finn's not a clone.
No, they don't know who Finn is. Remember, he said he doesn't have parents.
No. Yeah, it's because he doesn't know his parents. The thing is that after the Clone Wars, they stopped using clones and they used orphans. And they raised the orphans to become stormtroopers and whatnot.
Let me ask you a question, Chuck. If you're a very evil empire, would you lie to people?
Oh, yeah.
and who's the one telling us that they were all orphans?
The Empire and the kids.
So, little kids who don't know their backstory were just told they were orphans. Would any of them turn around and go, wait a minute, what if I'm a clone?
Yeah, but what would be the point? Especially since they don't look the same. You know what I mean? You would have to have a bunch of different people. And wasn't Kamino basically, destroyed?
Yes, but that might be why the cloning process was changed to actually have individuality. Because they would each have a different level of where they're supposed to work. So they might be playing God with cloning now. This might be the next gen of cloning.
They could be. Again, that's just there's so much stuff there that's just we have to almost fill in the blanks and really look back. Remember Revenge of the Sith. Remember Return of the Jedi. When those movies were done, they were done. You know what I mean? You felt like you had the answers. Obviously there was things oh, well, what's Vader's origin? Well, okay, but that's a whole other story. That's not this trilogy. And I feel like in this trilogy, they really tried to in this last movie, just wrap everything up and let's just wrap it up. And it's like, okay, but it doesn't feel like a cohesive trilogy. Even if you were to just take out TLJ, it's still not cohesive. There's still a lot of stuff that felt shoot in just at the last moment.
Well, I kind of feel like they did that on purpose to say this isn't the end of Star Wars. Honestly, I think this was a declaration that this story doesn't stop here. As a matter of fact, the title itself, the fact that she takes the name Skywalker, I think is a statement that it's not going away and that Star Wars will live in forever.
I think Star Wars should live forever. I felt like the Skywalker, I really wanted the Skywalker line to be done.
Well, it is, technically. This is a new line of Skywalker.
Yeah, but it's not because the name is still there. You know what I mean? It would have been nice if the line was just done.
Okay, so now a lot of people, to get onto that, a lot of people have argued that she should have taken her right name, Palpatine. I'm saying that right? Palpatine, whatever it was.
Palpatine. Yeah. No, because what if you're a really, really good dude? And I know everyone always uses this name, but what if you're a really, really good dude, like I don't know, let's say like a Bernie Sanders or someone. He wants to give everyone everything and he wants to be good for everybody, but it just so happens your last name is Hitler.
Yep.
Are you going to go by Hitler, or are you going to be like, I could do more work with a better name?
No. Yeah, no, that's the same argument I had with someone else. All right, yeah. the other big
just wouldn't work.
The other big argument was the Mary Sue comment. Oh, they made this very powerful female character. She was so powerful, nothing could hurt her. And in The Last Jedi, you do get a dose that this character's overpowered and ridiculous. Like, she just, goes against everything and can pick up rocks and has no training and is, the most powerful thing ever. And you don't understand why. I argue that I thought the third movie actually showed how vulnerable she was and how human she was. And I thought, so for those who don't know, Mary Sue characters, basically Superman is a woman just made to show over-exaggerated power of a woman to further an agenda that women are more powerful than men. I don't subscribe to that in most things. I think there are a few occurrences. I do not think that she was that occurrence. Even in The Last Jedi, where it definitely pandered to making men look stupid. Let's be honest, The Last Jedi made every male character look like an idiot who needed a female character to follow them around, to teach them what they're doing wrong and to control their toxic masculinity. That was a problem with The Last Jedi for me, is that he was having social issues take place in the wrong time period, in a time period where we've seen both genders act idiotic and both genders have ego issues. Suddenly to have it be this one-sided ordeal, I was glad to see the weakness in her and the power that she actually has to overcome it in the end. I thought that was beautiful.
I actually felt like she, the one that, and again, I'm not saying that The Rise of Skywalker is an abortion. I'm just saying I didn't love it and I was disappointed by it. However, it did show why she was that strong. Why she was able to naturally do all that stuff. She has a natural ability because of her bloodline, because she's a freaking Palpatine. Like, she is incredibly powerful. She probably has tons of midichlorians.
Yeah. If you think about it, and this is what a lot of people don't get. This was Vader's kid versus Palpatine's kid. This was the ultimate showdown in Star Wars. Like, it was like, wow, this is like, Ali versus, what's his name? What was that guy's name? When he took him on,
you talking about George Foreman?
No. The other guy, Ali versus, the name's right. It's like Freeman, but it's not Freeman. Oh, I'm gonna have to look it up. But it's like that moment where it's just iconic, where you're blown away, like, oh my God, these are who these people are.
Frasier?
Yes, thank you. And it's funny, I love that show. But it's beautiful. I thought that those two were amazing. I love the new skill where they could trade off and teleport things. I actually thought that was kind of cool.
I thought it was cool, but it really made me wonder, like, how is that even possible? Like, what is why are you just suddenly discovering this now? Why were other Jedi unable to do it? Does it have something to do with your bloodline? Are you that powerful?
Not only were both that powerful, but they had this actual, and they said it in the movie, a lot of people missed it, they had an actual Force connection.
Yes.
Something about them, they were connected. There was just a conduit between those two, and it was only those two that had it. No one else had ever had it, they said, for centuries. And I thought it was beautiful when he gives her life when he gives his life so she can live. After she gives her life to defeat.
So I did like that, actually. I did like that.
Was beautiful.
And the other thing I liked was massive spoiler alerts. We've already dropped so many spoiler alerts, but Han Solo was a lovely addition.
Right in the feels, man.
No one saw that coming. I was very, and again, that was some massive fan service, but you know what? I was happy with that. I thought, okay, it's cool. I didn't love that it was a memory. You know what I mean? It would have been nice if it was like, no, man, we all live on in the Force, whether we believe in it or not. And that would have been kind of a funny take on it,
No, but I love that it was a memory because, like she said, he was haunted. Because there's a throwback where they actually talk about The Last Jedi and wrap that thing up where it's not that she wants to be bad, she actually wants to be with Ben. And I thought that was beautiful that they had this connection. And you could kind of feel it. They did it awkward in The Last Jedi, but it was there, and it was just awkward because I think that was bad storytelling. Because they didn't want to have the female character be attracted to a male, so they did this awkward thing with the shirt that landed horribly. It felt like Vince McMahon from WWE had written it when he writes things about women, and it comes off so horribly outdated. You know what I mean?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
So Vince McMahon has this tendency where he tries to break up couples in a public forum.
No, I know. I mean, in The Last Jedi, I don't know what moment you're talking.
When he has his shirt off and they're looking at each other, there could have been a flirty banter, which is really what it was meant to sort of be, but it landed so horribly awkward that you felt dirty after it. But the character, the actors played it so well. It was just the story and the dialogue didn't match how the actors played it. You know what I mean? Go back and watch the scene. You'll see what I mean. Because they're playing like they're attracted to each other, and it's like this awkward, flirty thing. But their words aren't matching up. And that was a problem with The Last Jedi. They took Finn and made him like this recluse. Meanwhile, he was the most sensitive of the group and was the most caring of the group. You know what I mean? But suddenly he became a recluse in The Last Jedi. I didn't like that. And I didn't like that they took away the relationship between him and Poe. Personally, I'm hoping that in the future of the Star Wars saga, we're going to see Poe and Rey and Finn as a tripod couple. That's what I want to see.
We'll have a little bit of... I like that.
You know? I'm saying, there's the couple of the year right there. Or the tripod of the year. How cute would they be? How cute would that be? To I guess it'd be the reverse Oreo. The vanilla and the chocolate filling, however it would work. It would be so awesome to see those three together, you know? What are your thoughts on that? You think I can see a Star Wars where there's a tripod couple?
I mean, they had a hard enough time showing two lesbians kissing.
Yeah, what was that?
2 seconds of that.
You mentioned that.
I don't know that Disney's quite ready for that.
But how awkward was that? I caught that moment, and it was shoehorned in, and it was like you said, it was like CNN was recording. No, Fox News. It was like Fox News was recording it. Didn't realize what the two pilots were going to do, and suddenly saw it and quickly cut away to anything else.
Yeah. So I liked the moment. I just didn't necessarily like how it was handled. You know what I mean? These two people just went and kissed, and I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. Now we could have just kind of panned away and moved on to other people hugging and all that kind of stuff, and that would have been great. But it felt like they were just like, okay, we did that. Let's move on. You're like, all right. I guess you did your pandering. Good for you.
Now, you know what would have been cool if two dudes kissed next. or two like a humanoid and an alien.
Yeah, right.
Like there
Well,
would have been.
that's why I liked Solo. So I like Solo for a lot of reasons, but Lando was in love with a droid.
Yes, and I was hoping to see that ship show up. Not the ship, the other ship from. They said that there was the ship from the past two from Rogue One, that the ship might have survived somehow.
Well, so one of the ships that did survive, actually, did you ever watch the TV show Rebels?
No, I'm getting to it with Jax now. You can spoil
So
it for me.
I'm watching it, and I'm almost done it, and it's fantastic. I really enjoyed it a lot. It's really great. But the ship from that, the Ghost, was in that big wall of ships that shows up at the end.
Okay, so that's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, absolutely, it is.
Sorry, I had to put the dryer back on.
You're good.
Fandom doesn't stop for dryers. But no, man, look, man, I you know what I really liked about this movie? It felt like it went back to like storytelling. I felt like this had more story to characters. While the last movie was a vehicle prop. Like you said, it was someone trying to build something new with pieces that didn't fit. So he was trying to force them into parts that they weren't used to. Does that make sense?
It makes sense that you feel that way, yes.
Because look at Poe. Poe was so conflicted with being a leader in this one. You know what I mean? That was so beautiful, and him and Leia's relationship. And they did a great job, by the way, with what they did with Leia. I know a lot of people complained, well, she was so minimized in the film. You have to understand, the actress was dead.
Yeah.
They did the best they could. They did not want to replace her. This was about respecting her.
I think they did really good with her. And the way she died was terrific. She sacrificed herself.
Yep. Just for that moment, so Rey doesn't die. So all you Mary Sue people understand, Ben had won.
And actually, it wasn't just so that Rey wouldn't die.
No,
if you really look at that moment, it was so that her son would live again.
Yes.
It wasn't so we can keep Rey alive. It's so that Ben Solo can be alive. Fuck Kylo Ren. And that's what was cool. That's what I enjoyed about it.
And he will become part of the Force now, which is what we see when his body disappears, because he has earned it. And let's be honest, and I had talked to someone, I'm not going to say their names, they're not here to exactly quote them. I wish they could have been on the show. Maybe we'll do this again with some more people in a few weeks. But he had said that he would have liked to see Ben at this point, try to somehow show up in the universe and prove he's a good guy now and kind of redeem himself. But I don't know if you come back from that, at least in the universe's standpoint. Could a universe ever really forgive him for all that slaughter? It'd be like if Hitler at the end of the war was like, okay, guys, I'm on your side now. Let's go get those Japanese.
But I think that's interesting. So I'm a Lost fan.
Yeah.
And one of the big bad guys of that series ends up towards the end of the series, and at the end of the series, he has this really excellent redemption arc, and he basically has to redeem himself and prove that he's actually a good person who really did want what was best for the people and for the island. And so I think the fact that he would have to live with it every day, live with the fact all the terrible things that he did, and still try to keep pushing through, that's exactly what the Force is all about. The Force is about, there's no gray in the Force. There's good and there's evil. There's black and there's white. There's the dark side and the light side. And so if you're not with the dark side anymore, it means that you are constantly pushing all of that darkness away from you to go for the light. You're sacrificing that, which means he's going to have stones thrown at him. People are going to talk shit about him. They're not going to trust him. And that's fine, because it's not about that. It's just about doing the right thing. So I think that would have been a really interesting thing to see. I agree with that person.
Okay. Now, I got to ask this because you're saying that. First off, I haven't watched every cartoon, to be clear. So when I make this statement, there might be a moment where it's like, oh, Rob, you don't know what the hell you're talking about because you don't watch everything. You should dedicate yourself to Star Wars. So send all the hate mail to the appropriate email. But is that color of the lightsaber indicating maybe that Rey has brought both sides of the Force finally together?
I know that. Oh man, I know that they all have reasons. I'm trying to remember. Each color has a different purpose. It symbolizes something. So I'm gonna look that one up right now.
All right, while you look that up, I'll explain what I'm telling to the fans who are listening who might not get this. The whole point of Anakin was he was supposed to bring the dark and the light side together. Because the dark side uses the Force too. That's a misconception everyone makes. Both sides use the Force. It's just they use it differently. So the good side is actually still considered the light side, which is weird because everyone wears different colors. Like the light side wears darker colors typically. Go figure out why. Like stormtroopers, that's the light colors, the bad guys, the dark side. So the actual Kylo's weird red color that was constantly moving was because Kylo had tortured the stones that wind up making the sabers, and they were in constant torment. And I guess when he throws that away, he throws away tormenting those stones as well, because they're a living organism, sort of, but not really. This all came later after the original series. And for those who remember, Lucas's original 3, which were really 4, 5, and 6, he didn't have a solid point. He changed a lot between 3 and 6. Mm-hmm. So it's not uncommon. Even 1 through 3, the first 3, Jar Jar was supposed to be the Phantom Menace, which I thought would have been badass, but it wound up being Palpatine. So, whatever. I would have liked to see Darth Sidious Jar Jar. Or whatever they would have called him. You know, Lord Jar Jar. So did you find it?
Yeah, so gold was actually only used in kind of the extended universe. So we really don't know what it means right now.
All right, because that's pretty badass. Now, also, do you think Rey is weaker now? This is actually something I was talking to someone about. I think she's weaker now. She's not going to be what we saw in all the other films so far.
Why would you say that?
Well, think about it. Sidious Palpatine takes her power and Ben's power, basically leaving them so neither one could survive without sharing each other's powers. That's basically it. They only have half a life force each. That's why he can't heal her without giving him his life force. Do you think that's something that'll maybe heal now that he's gone? Do you think they'll depower her a bit? Or do you think she'll just regain it from the Force?
I think she probably regained it because he sucked stuff. I don't think he was actually sucking the Force from her. Because and I mean, as much as I hate midichlorians, I really, really do. That's a part of your body. So I believe that when he was sucking from her was the life essence. And our life essence is what connects us to the Force. So because she had a much lower amount of life essence inside of her, she had a harder time connecting to the Force, which is why they were depowered. So I believe that once he was killed and they got their life essence back, that power came back to her.
Okay, and that's fair. Now, another question I have for you. You didn't like it, but you didn't hate it. I don't know if I changed your mind about it at all today, but more importantly, going on in the future, are you excited? Because the one thing this film made me want to do, for the first time in decades, I want to see another Star Wars film for the first time in decades. And some of that credit where credit's due is, are you watching The Mandalorian?
Hell yeah, I am.
Doesn't this kind of play just at the perfect time where The Mandalorian almost was like your fluffer?
So did you watch the last episode of The Mandalorian?
We're at the bar fight out? Or is there one after that?
There's one after that.
I haven't seen the one after that yet then, no. I haven't.
Okay, so...
Don't spoil it for me.
I won't spoil it, but something that happened in this movie also happened in that episode.
Oh, shit. So I'm missing a whole episode because the last thing I saw, they were just fighting it out. When did that one drop?
Wednesday.
I thought I saw the one on Wednesday where they were fighting in a bar and they leave it up like at a cliffhanger. And there was going to be another one later on after Christmas.
Okay, so was Baby Yoda in that one? I mean, obviously he was. What did he do anything special in that one that you remember?
He chokes the girl.
He did choke the girl. That's true. He did something else too, though.
He gets kidnapped. I know that at the end by the speed bikes.
But there was something else that happened in that episode that you obviously don't remember.
What was it? If it's that episode, I've seen it, so I might have missed the part chasing Jax.
He healed. I think either her or the Mandalorian.
Yes. And
we have never seen the healing before, and so the fact that Yoda was able to do that and Rey, that's something that's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I did. As a matter of fact, we didn't even talk about that. It's good that you brought it up. That healing thing supposedly isn't even that new. It's something that, like you said, the extended universe, which the woman, and I call her woman because I don't know her name, the person in charge of the Star Wars thing, and I'm not going to get to know her name.
Kathleen Kennedy?
Yeah, her. I'm not going to remember her name because she's gone. Because she turned around and said, there's no way to tell new stories. There's not enough information about Star Wars. She deserves to be gone. Let's be honest. The Last Jedi was her pushing it, and this new one was JJ being taken off the leash, as well as...
That's actually a misquote. No. She did say that, but she wasn't saying it like that.
How was she saying it, Chuck?
What she was saying was like with the prequels, they had something to work off of as far as the fact that they had these other TV shows and all this kind of stuff happening at the same time. But this stuff that they were doing in the future, that was all its own new thing. So she was more just trying to say that, hey, like we weren't really building off of other stuff. We were kind of starting a little fresher. And so that was kind of her sort of explaining why it was a little tougher on them. But I don't think she was saying, like, she wasn't trying for an excuse or anything like that. It was, people really want to try to misquote you and they want to try to burn someone and, like, ruin somebody's career so that we can then be like, oh, yeah, now we're going to give it to Jon Favreau because he's the new guy. Yeah, until he does something you don't like. And then you're going to burn him and hope that it's Dave Filoni or somebody else.
No, see, I don't burn people unless I think they deserve it. Just for me.
No, I know you. I'm talking about this very toxic fan base that Star Wars has.
Oh, yeah, but forget them. I'm talking to you.
Yes.
I think she fucked up. I don't think she understood it. I think that's shown it. I don't feel bad for Lucas. He sold it. Boo-hoo.
Yeah,
get over
Lucas
it,
is out of the conversation as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you don't get a say. You sold out, homie. That's what sold out means. Sit in the back of the theater and watch it with the rest of us. Sorry, not sorry. But her, even in that comment that she says that, she forgets that at one point Lucas allowed his IP to be written by fans who created a wealth of information that she made the decision. Remember, she's the one who decided to make all of that non-canon now.
Okay, but here's the thing. He never actually made that stuff canon. A lot of it actually worked against itself. All he did was allow people to write and play in that because for a lot of that period of time, he kind of thought he might be done. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I'm going to make another one or not. And then it was like, oh, shit, you know what? Yeah, I am. And a lot of that was he dropped those the redone Star Wars movies to feel out, hey, can we still do this again? Can we make these movies happen again? And of course, people were so excited. They came out and they loved it. And so he's like, okay, yeah, I can keep doing this. All right, I'm gonna make those prequels fun.
No, but doesn't that start the toxic fan base though? Isn't Lucas a little bit there for starting it by taking what was originally there and trying to change it? And, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But my point isn't that they should have made everything canon. My point is that the writers could have gone and read some of those books and then gave writing credits to the people and used their ideas.
They could have, but remember that even, like, what a lot of people forget is even the prequels that George made, they actually spat on a lot of those EU books. I mean, in the novels, I believe, Boba Fett had a completely different origin, and he was a very different character. And then he was like, he's a clone. That's what I like. That's what I wanted. And I get it because it's his playground. He wants to play with it his way, but he allowed those things to happen under his watch. He should have either respected them or said, no, you can't do that.
Yeah,
I think a lot of that starts with him.
Yeah, I get that. Okay. I can see that. But I also think that by him going back and muddling, and originally with the Jar Jar, he should have just stuck to his guns. And
I didn't know. I've never heard anything about Jar Jar was going to be the Phantom Menace because they even had Palpatine. They showed him at the end as the Emperor, so to speak. Like he was always the Emperor.
No, he was always going to be the Emperor. But apparently, if the rumor's true, and Lucas has almost gone on record as saying this is very true, but never confirmed it, but it was always like kind of like nodded and been like, well, that's an interesting theory that I probably could have maybe happened. You know, one of those things. So the idea was that Jar Jar wasn't lazy. Because if you go back and watch the movie and you actually look at how scared people are that Jar Jar comes back, the fact that everything goes his way. Do you know what the drunken monk style of fighting is?
Yes.
All right, so it's basically that, and that he is manipulating things the whole way to get Anakin into the right place to meet Palpatine. So they're still related, but he's a Phantom Menace. Both of them technically are at that point.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. I actually just looked that up. That was actually a theory that was posited by a Reddit user.
Yes.
So I'm not sure how true necessarily that is.
But I mean, it would be awesome if it were.
Well, yeah.
And you have to admit, they didn't introduce Jar Jar in that first movie to just get rid of him like Rose. Both of those characters were removed because of fan stuff.
Yes, absolutely. And that's sad. I've seen that happen a fair amount over the years, and it's very disappointing.
Now, let's talk about that. And this has become a controversy, too, now. Fan service. How important is fan service? My God, those stupid fans don't know what they want. Let's give them The Last Jedi. Oh, my God, that's not what they wanted. Let's never give them The Last Jedi again.
Well, so The Last Jedi was definitely, and I liked the movie, but The Last Jedi was definitely not fan service. He was not thinking of the fans when he did that, and it's partly why I enjoyed it. But I'm not a fan of fan service because I honestly believe that, and you and I have kind of talked about this when we're talking about writing and stuff, a story has its own life. And so by following fan service, you're taking that life out and you're letting others decide what the story already knows. A story is a living thing. Like as an editor, you can feel it. You can feel it build. In a really good story, you'll be watching a movie or a TV show or something, and someone will say something, and I'll catch myself doing this a fair amount. I'll finish their sentence. It's not that it's predictable. It's that those characters in that story was built so well that now we have a good idea of how it should continue on. And that's just because the story is a life and we feel that story. But when we force it, when we put things in there that we want in there, that's just us indulging our own egos and whatnot. That's not really feeling the organic trueness of the story.
See, now, as a writer who's had their writing taken and broken down and reviewed without reading it, I can tell you that there is an expectation for certain things to be a certain way. And there's no getting around that. So when you create Star Wars, you are doing a spaghetti western in space. And when you stop doing that and go away from the formula, you're going to upset fans. So the fan service of giving fans what they want, I don't necessarily think is a bad thing once you've established a foreground for it. So the minute that the formula is out there, I think you got to start following the formula, and that's the fan service you have to give. But like you said, I think you got to give them compelling stories to go along with the formula. Yeah. And I think that's what The Last Jedi did wrong, was it broke the formula. It did not feel like a Star Wars movie. It felt like a Christmas special or like an Ewok adventure. And we all know how those turned out. There's a formula for these movies, and The Force Awakens followed the formula way too freaking close. That was like if Coca-Cola released Coca-Cola 2 and changed nothing about it and just put a new cover on it, which Coca-Cola kind of did already. And that's the point, is that sometimes you have to, and like you said, you can't listen to the fans to the point where you're hurting the story. Absolutely not. And I don't think at any point Rise of Skywalker hurt the story. And that's why I liked it. I went into it expecting it to not be good, to be honest with you.
That's so funny that you and I went with completely opposite.
Well, I think, too, you went into it after seeing The Last Jedi and being okay with The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
I was disgusted by The Last Jedi.
And that's the hilarious thing. That's why this is so divisive. And it's also why, for the creators out there, for anybody who wants to write anything, I always tell people, if you're going to write a fucking story arc, outline it. Know where you're going to begin, where the hell you're going to end, and everything that's going to take you in between those places. And I honestly believe that this was written without any true outline. And because of that, the whole thing suffers.
Well, and that's The Last Jedi's fault, though. The Last Jedi throws away the outline.
It's not just The Last Jedi's fault, because it allowed that to happen. Like the Last Jedi was allowed to happen.
Yes, I agree.
Which means that there wasn't an outline.
No, there was. He said, he's gone on record and said he threw away the outline. The Last Jedi writer.
No way.
Yeah.
But they were like, oh yeah, we'll just let you do your thing.
No,
there's no way. It's Disney. These are the same guys who fired the Solo director halfway through. So there's just no. I don't believe that at all.
No, go back and look. They actually said that's why they let this guy take over. And remember, this guy was supposed to have his own trilogy. They signed him up to have a whole trilogy of his own. They let him have total control and actually encouraged him to go and change it. It was like Paramount, when Paramount said, hey, for the next Enterprise Star Trek movie, we don't want an Enterprise to be in it. And people hated it. This is Hollywood not getting fandom, and that's where it's a problem. I'm telling you, the Rainey guy said that he absolutely went against everything that was established. He wanted to shake things up.
That's the problem then.
Oh, I agree with you.
Again, like I said, they allowed him to throw away the book.
Disney screwed up. And that's why I blame the girl. What's her name again? You know, the Kennedy chick?
Yeah. We have outlines for a reason.
Yes.
And this is why you follow them.
Yes. And that's why I was so mad at it. Because he threw away. There's no reason you throw away Snoke so easily. No reason. That's horrible writing. You know
what, though? If you really think about it, the Emperor was thrown away really easily, too.
How so? He survived and made it to this film.
In the last, or in, what the fuck is it? Return of the Jedi? When he died, we knew nothing about him. We didn't even know his name.
That's true, but there was
He was just the Emperor. We knew nothing about him. And how did he die? Oh, that's right. He was picked up and thrown off a bridge.
But while he was getting forced zapped. To the credit, it wasn't that simple. Vader was dying, basically, doing that. But there was always this thing that there was a lot of the past that we didn't know, and we just had to accept that. We were coming in the middle of a story, so we did have to accept that. At this point, we weren't coming in the middle of a story. We saw the middle already. So to have Snoke be this dude who just kind of comes and goes, and in the first movie, remember, he looked like he was bigger than everyone else, and then we find out he's like this little tiny dude. You know, he's like Napoleon almost.
He wasn't tiny. He was still taller than everybody. He just
but I mean, from
giant.
From the force projection to that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that wasn't a force projection. That was a hologram. I think a lot of that has to do just with his ego.
Which it could have been, but I would have liked to. Hey, calm down. I would have liked to have heard about that a little bit more. And I thought that, I thought that was horrible.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I do feel like this was us coming in the middle, though, because we're coming in the middle of Snoke's story. We didn't know where he came from and all that kind of stuff. And so I feel like that could have been handled a lot better than just, oh yeah, so he was my bitch. You know, like I think that could have been played a little bit better. We could have even given, honestly, I would have been excited if he was a clone, or if he was a body that Palpatine had been in
Puppeted?
and then gotten rid of.
Like puppeted it from where he
Mm,
was?
Yeah, and then when he got rid of the body, that body was like, well, I still have all this power inside of me. I'm going to be the supreme leader while Palpatine still tries to run in the shadows.
Yeah, I wish they'd done something similar. Honestly,
Yeah.
I did think
So
that
I feel like that
handled
was something
poorly.
that was dropped. The thing is that it was not up to now. A lot of people have said the Last Jedi should have dropped the ball by not explaining Rey's parents, and you know what? I can actually agree with that. Had they explained it at least a little bit, then we could have not spent our time on that in this one and really felt it. That might have been a nice ending, and I'll give that one up. But I don't think it was up to that story to explain Snoke. Snoke easily could have been explained later on in just a better way.
Yeah, I think the Last Jedi. But to take, and this is how I feel about it, and this might be why I see this as such a good movie. As a writer, I understand where JJ walked into. Like, people hated that last movie to the point where the fan base itself then tanked Solo, which was a great movie, by the way. They tanked that movie just to be spiteful. And that was a great movie. I really liked Solo. I was amazed by it. I thought it's better than Rogue One, to be honest. Because Rogue One felt like something
I
I didn't
loved
need.
Rogue One.
I
So
get it.
I don't know that I can believe that.
It
But
was good, but it really gave me throwaway characters. Like none of that would matter after that point. You know what I mean?
you know what though? You know what the brilliance, the true brilliance of Rogue One was, and a lot of people didn't notice it, is go back and watch what is it? Watch A New Hope. And Rogue One is literally built off of one missing chair. Because when Grand Moff Tarkin and Vader and all of them are sitting around talking, right beside Grand Moff Tarkin, there is one missing chair. There's one chair that is empty. And that was the bad guy from, that was Director Kinnick or whatever his name was. And that was that character who was dealing with all of that stuff. And I thought that was brilliant. You can go back to A New Hope, the very first movie, and see that missing chair and understand that he was supposed to be sitting there. That was how it was supposed to go down. And that's really cool.
Yeah, you know what was that other general dude? Like that guy who was like all up on Palpatine? Like is that guy from somewhere? Like he seemed to be in love with each other. Like they like they dated during the Clone Wars.
Oh, this new general, the older
Yeah.
guy?
Yeah, was he from some cartoon?
Yeah, no, he was new. I don't know anything about him.
Like it was like suddenly like, no, I go back with you, homie, forever. Me and
Yeah.
you, I'm a ride or die. You know, like I really felt that with that guy. Like that guy was gonna be part of it, you know?
Mhm.
All right, Chuck. So have I changed your mind about the film at all?
Not very much, but a little bit.
All right, a little bit. I mean, you never said you hated it. It would have been better to
No.
get someone who absolutely hated it. Because there are some people who don't get it. Like, again, the Mary Sue thing. I think people are just hating it now because they've been trained to hate Star Wars. And I ask a lot of people, like, look, are you actually a Star Wars fan? And it's okay if you're not. Like, I'm not a Lord of the Rings fan. You can put any Lord of the Rings any Lord of the Rings movie in front of me, and I probably wouldn't like it. And that's okay. I pay money to go to the theater. I get to crap on it, you know?
Yeah.
That's my opinion, but be honest about it and don't give a review for something you haven't seen yet. I hate people like that.
Yeah, it's a dick move.
I don't
And like I said, I went in trying to love it. This just wasn't the movie for me. And honestly, Star Wars has so many other stories that they can do outside of just the Jedi and all that. And I think what I least like about this whole thing was that the Jedi and the Force was like the most important thing. And there's so much more to that universe than just that.
Yeah, I can see that. I want to see it all. I'm okay with because the whole point of Star Wars is I want to see space wizards. Any
Well, and that's
day.
okay, but they don't all have to be Jedi. You know what I mean? Like we have Baby Yoda, who is obviously Force sensitive, but almost definitely not neither a Jedi nor a Sith.
I'm
So-
okay with that. Show me a new group. Show me the elite Force commanders. And what? Look, the stupidest thing about it was we're the final order. What? Was no one in the room going, "We can do better"?
Yeah.
Like, Jesus, man. Like, stop. Like, that's foreshadowing right there, kids. That gave away the fact that I knew no matter what happened, they were going to lose.
Yeah, when they're the final order.
And they're going to lose horribly. Whenever you say, we're the last line of defense, you know they're dead. Like, oh, that's the end of them.
Yeah.
It's a rare in a movie where someone's like, we're the last line of defense, and then they win. And if they do win, it's usually one dude walking away. You know what I mean?
Right. It's a pretty Pyrrhic victory.
Yeah. It's like one dude just being like, we made it. Well, I did. Like, that's the whole point of Saving Private Ryan. That's what that whole movie was about. One dude surviving a war. All right. I'm gonna head off here. We're either way, would you say it's worth watching?
Yeah, you know what? Go watch it, finish the series, and then go on and enjoy all the other great Star Wars stuff. And you know what? If you didn't like any of that, I'll tell you, there's some amazing indie comics out there for you to check out who actually follow their fucking outlines.
Yes. And kids, please don't not follow your outlines.
Always follow your outlines.
Like, because no matter what, even a fan of the movie, I have to admit the outline was horrible.
Yeah.
This
Make a good outline and then follow it.
This is after the car crash. That's exactly how I look at this. This film is after the car crash that started the dumpster fire. That's how I went into it feeling. But I got Jax trying to pull me away to go play Star Wars. I think he wants to play lightsabers.
Awesome.
So,
you guys have fun.
Happy holidays. Thanks for being on this, Chuck. And that's it for now. Until the next fandom movie which causes people to go crazy, or part 2 to this, because I'm sure this will stir some controversy. How could you have a tripod in Star Wars? We'll see you then. I'm Rob Anderson. You can follow me at indieadvocates.com and theindiedevil.com. And how can they follow you, Chuck?
They can follow me on Facebook at Bonfire Press. They can follow me on Twitter at Chucky Pin. And, of course, you can follow my...
I think Chuck disappeared at the right time. I think the Force got him for not liking this one enough in The Last Jedi. You there?
I'm stuck here.
Like that was it. He got canceled. No, he's back. Tell him what you were saying.
Oh, did I cut out for all that?
Horribly. You sounded like a droid being reset.
All right. You can find me at Bonfire Press on Facebook, Chuck Pino on Facebook, at Chucky Pin on Twitter, and of course you can find my Chuck's Raw Reviews on YouTube.
All right. That's it for now, guys. Happy holidays.